Hi.
Hi.
All right. Thank you, Ashley Welch, for being here. This is the Training-Led Growth video series that we're recording. With me today is Ashley Welch, the co-founder of Somersault Innovation.
Yes.
Also salesperson and sales trainer extraordinaire. Mom as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So I guess I will start with, can you just talk to us a little bit about Somersault Innovation? How'd you come up with the idea? Who's your co-founder? How'd you get started?
Yeah.
What do you
love
do?
To. Sure. So I've been in sales, as you know, for my whole career, so over 20 years, 25 now. And 5 years ago, left a business that I was working for with Justin Jones, who's my co-founder. We left because we were excited. Love Justin. He's great. Wanted to start something new, and fell in love with the methodology of design thinking. And design thinking is an innovation methodology, sort of popular if you've ever used an Apple product or ridden in an Uber. All those came out of a design thinking process. So we left, started that, and then we realized that there was a lot of synergy between the tools of design and design thinking that could be relevant for sales. Awesome. So we pioneered this new approach called Sell by Design, lifting from the world of design, bringing these tools of curiosity and empathy and better discovery into the world of sales. And it's made a tremendous difference in a lot of the clients we work with.
Awesome. Tell me about who you work for, like some of your customers.
Yeah, so we started working for Salesforce, and then have expanded into the tech space pretty widely. So we work with Microsoft and Oracle and Workday. We just finished working with Forrester Research, did their SKO this week. And do a little bit in pharma, a little bit in financial services, but mostly tech. Okay,
awesome. So you're training tech salespeople how to be and how to do their job more effectively.
Exactly.
What does that mean for you?
Yeah. So specifically, we're working on, we work with all levels of sellers, so anywhere from BDRs to account executives to sort of enterprise level sellers. And we're working in three spaces: discovery, insight generation, and then co-creation or acceleration, helping them more effectively co-create and move the deal faster.
Oh, cool. Okay. So as this video series, or other people that have watched our videos know, we call this the Training-Led Growth series. We, as Raven 360, believe that training can lead to revenue growth. And training for us means internal employees like salespeople, like customer success folks, marketing even. But then it also means once you train salespeople more effectively with things like your tools and methodologies, once they're selling more effectively, getting the buyers to use those tools or use those products they bought more effectively. So for us, training and training-led growth is about growing revenue, and then also about increasing retention or reducing churn, so customers churn. So maybe could you tell us a story, maybe a recent customer story around, talk me through kind of a program you would, or some of the tools you'd introduce for a customer, and then like a recent...
Get to a story?
Yeah, like a customer story.
Sure. So we tend to work with a group of sellers for a 3-month process. We give them a day of skills, very interactive. We give them skills in the area of discovery, insight, and acceleration. And it's all about how do you stay customer-centric in the whole sales process, remembering that the customer and what the customer cares about, and even what their customer cares about, is the name of the game, not what you want to sell.
The customer's customer.
Exactly.
Got it.
So I'll give you a story of that in a minute.
Yes.
So we work with them for a day, give them the skills, and then we coach them for 3 months against target accounts to really make sure that they're using the skills in service of growing an opportunity and, of course, pipeline and revenue. And then we come back and have them report out what they've done. So we're able to measure the results and also hear great stories. So one story that just came out, we were just working with a large telecom company, global telecom, and one of the sellers in London, Cameron, had the Cancer Research, UK Cancer Research Society. So that's the customer, right? So that's their customer. That's a good customer to have. So Cameron decided, well, actually, who's part of their ecosystem, and realized that one of their businesses was secondhand clothing and used items that they could sell in their stores around London to make some extra money for cancer research. Yep. So we went to one of these stores. He's talking to the guys in the back, and he's watching them scan clothing, or not scan it, but actually look up clothing on their iPhones to find out, like, okay, Patagonia jacket, what can I sell this for? Look it up. Sort of an inefficient process, but that's what they did.
Yeah.
So when he was talking to them, he said, well, what if I could enable your phones to not only have Google Lens on it, but other sorts of applications that could more quickly give you the right price that you could resell it for? Would that be helpful in terms of efficiency and maybe actually make you more money? And they were psyched about that.
Oh, yeah.
So that was one thing. And then in talking to them, he also learned that a lot of people came into the stores, just these secondhand stores, to talk about cancer and actually get advice. So he said, well, wait a second, what if we created a soundproof booth that you could staff with a medical professional who could talk to people and family members? Would it cause more people to come in and stay longer in your store?
Wow.
And they were like, yes. So he went back and came up with a $5 million proposal that's now in front of them based on this incredibly new opportunity that you never would have thought of if you hadn't done this level of discovery into the stores.
And the discovery was just listening, asking questions.
Well, first of all, figuring out that he didn't just want to sort of be at the mothership, but go further out into like these other branches and talk to even their customers, and then actually go there and do the discovery. And like you said, just listen, pay attention, connect authentically. And stop take the blinders off in terms of don't just ask questions about what you sell, but really learn about everything, and that enables you to see more opportunity.
So go to the customer's customer.
Yeah.
And figure out how you can impact them.
Yeah. Well, find out what they care about first,
Yeah.
and then figure out, is there some way you can help them?
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's a great example for us and what we're talking about, which is your tools, your methods, program, teaching, training salespeople to put themselves in the shoes of their customer, go visit, deep conversations, listen, and then the outcome is
much bigger opportunities.
Bigger opportunity.
Yeah.
Big proposal, big opportunity. And so talk to me also about how can what you guys are doing impact just closed ones. So salespeople, we're prospecting, we're out trying to find new deals. How does what you guys are doing impact them on their close rates? Yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, one of the things we talk a lot about is how do you create this authentic connection? How do you start understanding where they're adding value to their customers and have that conversation so that you can become a trusted advisor? So you're much more consultative.
Trusted advisor.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
And of course, a customer has so much information at their fingertips.
Yeah.
We all know the stats. And so as a customer, you're not really looking to me anymore just to tell you about my wares, but rather be consultative and think with you about what you could possibly buy. So I think when you're able to establish that relationship, which we work on, then the deal actually does go faster because now, you're sort of bought into wanting to work with me. We see a lot of times people start to introduce them to other executives faster.
Yeah.
So it just increases the deal velocity. And the other thing we talk a lot about is how do you get something in front of people sooner? Not that you're pushing a solution, but when you're ready, as soon as you can, get even a prototype, something small that you can get feedback on to get their fingerprints on, because the more your fingerprints are on what I'm trying to sell, the more ownership you'll have, the faster we can move towards a solution versus waiting till I've sort of baked out the whole deal and put it in front of you and get a yes or a no.
I love it. So that authentic relationship, building it, understanding it, this could be a bad question, but could that slow down a deal?
Could that slow down? I guess everything's possible, right? I think...
But I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I mean, as sales leaders or as people that have run sales organizations, you're always like, get it closed as fast as you possibly can. You're trying to reduce your sales cycle time. But if you build that, what I'm thinking is you build a relationship, you have a more authentic discussion, maybe you go from a $1 million deal to a $2 million deal.
Exactly.
So...
you reminded me when we first started, a lot of the things that we would hear from sales leaders was like, oh my God, they closed the deal, but I know they left so much money on the table, right? So they closed it down quickly to get that $50K, but if they had stayed in a little bit longer, did a little more discovery, created more of a relationship, it would have been twice, 3 times, whatever, that deal. So I think, you don't know. But it certainly both could expand the length of the relationship and then the length of time it takes to get the deal, but also the size of the deal could expand as well.
Interesting. So I've also heard salespeople, a very common response from salespeople is, I don't get enough coaching. I'm a salesperson, I'm hustling, I'm working, I'm trying to make my quota. I don't get feedback, I don't get coaching as much as I would like.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you see coaching, or how does that impact organization in general?
Well, I'll say what I see through the lens of what we're doing with clients.
Yep.
I hear the same thing. They don't get enough coaching. What I know is one of the levers in our process that's going to make the biggest difference is the coaching. So if we're just there for a day and give people skills and then walk away and we leave, there's not as much behavior change. Whereas that's just one part of the process, and then we're setting up a 90-day challenge where we're coaching them against the use of the tools and target accounts, as I said, and that's where the rubber hits the road, and where we can say, like, Joe, like, what are you doing around discovery? Remember, we talked about this. You said you were going to go after Patagonia. What are you doing? And keep you focused. And some of it is just focus. But
so what do you? That's exactly what I was thinking, and thank you for validating that. What about ongoing reinforcement? So your program is amazing. I've gone through it. By the way, I've sat through some of these. She Sell It by Design. It was an amazing event. Loved it. San Francisco at Salesforce. It was great. I learned a ton, by the way, which I use.
Good.
But reinforcement, like, we as salespeople, we learn things. We want to put it into action. How do you reinforce it? How do you make sure people, just as a business, how do you do that yourself?
Well, I think the lever in the organization is the managers. Like, getting them to really understand what is new being taught, and then how are they influencing it and reinforcing it in their conversations. Because we know, like, in a sales organization, they have these deal reviews all the time, right? Or you have your QBR, you have your weekly check-in, whatever it is. How are you orienting the conversation to reinforce the behavior? So in our case, one of the things we coach managers to say all the time is, instead of saying, Joe, you said you get me 50,000 by Friday, where you at? To say, tell me a story about your customer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like...
I love to tell stories.
Yeah, exactly. So you get excited. I understand whether you have or have not really done any good discovery or, created any kind of relationship. And I'm leading with that versus the numbers. The numbers aren't going away, and I'm still going to come. You still owe me whatever you put in your forecast.
So not only teach salespeople to be better listeners and asking better questions, but tell the managers to be asking their own reports to be asking them.
Exactly.
We're learning something here.
This loop
training-led growth.
That's right.
But again, is that, if you get, to me, it just seems like, boy, if you can get the salespeople asking those questions, you get the managers interacting with them in a more open or authentic, honest way, it seems like you can do a lot more business.
Yeah. I just read this article in the Times this past Sunday on listening, right? And so much of listening, it seems really basic, but there's so much neuroscience behind it. They were talking about if I'm talking to you, and if you listen in a way that's distracted, like you don't really pay attention to me, you're doing something else. I'm less creative in my thinking, and so I can't be as creative in what I tell you, and I'm also won't share as much. But if you listen really well, are able to paraphrase and just sort of use the statement, tell me more, you will literally elicit more information, because my brain works in a way that is like more connected to you, and I will give you more information.
Tell me more.
I think that's all I know.
No, but I totally agree in that this is a skill I had to learn. A skill I had to work on was listening to understand as opposed to listening to respond.
Yeah, right, or react.
Yeah, or listening to react, listening to respond, because when you're, earlier in your career, earlier in your, anything, your relationship with your spouse.
Yeah.
A lot of times you find yourself listening to just be like, this is what I'm going to say next.
Exactly.
And it's not about that. It's about like, and I guess that's empathy, but listening to understand and hear you.
Yes.
And then that's a huge skill I think that salespeople need, but it's like business and personal. I mean, I think it can be used for both.
100%. And I do think in sales, like, the more expertise you have, actually, what did they just say the other day? Can't remember the word, but it's like a curse in some ways to listening. Yeah. Especially in sales, like, especially if I'm a lawyer or I'm in research and you're paying me for my research, like, I feel like I have to impart my knowledge, and it gets in the way of my ability just to listen, and withhold, and sort of just be guided by the rhythm of the conversation versus what I feel like I need to tell you.
Yeah.
And we connect first on curiosity and warmth, not on expertise. So I need to know first that I can trust you before I'm willing to share. So if you just spew expertise at me, and I think, well, you might be smart, but I don't really trust you. So
I don't really like you.
I don't really like you. I don't really trust you. I'm not going to give you any information. So first connect on warmth, and trust, and that comes from a lot of curiosity.
Well, the relationship I think that you're helping to build between a manager and a rep, and then a rep and a potential customer is huge. And how do you think that impacts? Because sales teams, companies, it's like recruiting, employee retention, salesperson retention is really important, right? And super low unemployment right now, and so how do you think? To me, I'll ask you and you talk. Is how do you think that impacts the sales organization? If you can do these things, what is the impact that can have?
Yeah. I think a lot of things. One is revenue, for sure, right? So
growth.
Revenue. So we just did, with this telecom company, Global, we did 6 teams around the world. Each team had 13 people, let's say average. They added $65 million to pipeline on 6 teams around the world in 3 months. So revenue, I think what we see all the time is higher, in the using these kind of tools, higher level of engagement on the part of the seller. Just if we go back to the story I told about the cancer, UK Cancer Research Center, just by Cameron being there in the store, all of a sudden he cared. He wanted to help them, and it was really exciting.
Yeah.
So engagement goes up. I think you mentioned the work we're doing with women sellers. We're doing another series this year, and one of the companies we're working with, their interest is to keep women in the roles. So they see sometimes women come into the role of seller or tech seller, but then they leave. They don't stay.
Right.
So by training them.
Why?
Well, I think a lot of reasons. One, I think it can be sort of a masculine, aggressive environment that they don't want to stay in. They don't have a lot of mentorship or peers that look like them. I think, sometimes it's an environment that's not so welcoming to women who want to have children. So let's say you leave on maternity leave and you are a quota carrier, and, you're going out, so you're going to lose that, versus coming up with policies that say you're going to you get to keep these clients in some way. So I think we need to be creative about that. So I think retention of employees is another thing that our training and any training does. By developing people. People feel like I want to stay. Oh,
that's great. And if they want to stay, then they can contribute, they can grow more, and if they get coached and they have that good manager, relationship. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I love it.
And we know money only goes so far, right? There's a threshold in which we're happy. We need to get to that threshold, but then beyond that, there are so many other things that keep us engaged, and development is one of them.
Yep, development, coaching, culture, obviously. And to me, it seems like what you're doing is creating a whole new culture for the sales team, which is really, really exciting.
I met a woman the other day who I was telling her what we did. She said, "You are transforming the soul of organizations." Yeah. And I was like, "Yes, we are."
Wow, that's killer. What an endorsement.
I know.
That is awesome.
And then another guy yesterday said, "You're playing in the dark arts of humanity." I was like, that too.
Dark arts?
Dark arts.
Seems like the light arts to me.
Positive arts.
Positive arts, yeah. That's killer. Well, this has been great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your knowledge. And Ashley, where can we find you? We can find you on LinkedIn. We can find you on Somersaultinnovation.com.
Yep.
How do we get in contact?
Ashley at Somersaultinnovation.com.
Great.
1M on Somersault.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your time, and thanks for everybody watching the Training-Led Growth discussion video series here. And we'll be back soon.
Bye.